we start?
I have no idea.
Well, Wakeshield family, I'm Tim. This is Garrett.
Right.
And we are the, what would you call us?
Purveyors.
We're the designers, the manufacturers of the new Wakeshield topper.
Yep.
Just by way of introduction, we're both engineers. I'm a mechanical engineer. Garrett,
I studied aerospace.
right? We both came out of the aerospace world at one point and then went into entrepreneurial other ventures, both built other businesses. And at one point, well, we became friends, through a shared hobby.
Yep. Yeah.
Knew each other for quite a few years. Mm-hmm. And then I remember you showed up telling me about this crazy electric pickup truck.
Right. Yeah. So I just got a Rivian R1T about a year and a half ago and driving around for a while. And like many people, I didn't have I had the option of waiting for the power tonneau cover or just taking my truck as is. So I took it as is with the hopes of getting the manual tonneau cover someday. And I did. About 6 or 7 months later after I got it, I got the manual cover. And I found it to be not really what I expected. It's very difficult to use. Of course, it severely limits the height of things. And it being under 18 inches of storage, I found that a lot of things I wanted to put in there, such as my ISO cooler, which would be perfect for the electric truck since we have outlets in the back. I couldn't even use that with it, so I ran around with it without even using it for so long. In fact, it's still in my garage, not being used.
The tonneau
cover, yeah. So I had this idea about a topper, but an old-fashioned style topper, just to my eye, didn't seem like it was going to be as useful to me as I would need to take it off every once in a while, and didn't know how to exactly attach it. And there wasn't any options available. Plus, I didn't like the idea of screwing with the truck's good aerodynamics. It's got the spoiler. The spoiler of the tonneau is a pretty good aerodynamic package, as it is, well designed by Rivian. So the one thought with this topper was that we try to make it more aerodynamic. The initial goal was to not inhibit the range at all. It's very difficult to do with a standard topper design. And we found out later through all this, long story short, that we were able to actually increase the aerodynamic efficiency of the truck a bit.
Yeah. If I can interrupt, what was driving that was you take regular trips to Texas from Colorado.
Correct, yeah. 800-mile road trips a few times a year with lots of gear. So the tonneau covers and dogs are in the cab, so our luggage is back here with whatever else we're taking or bringing back from my family in Texas that would go visit. We're up in central Colorado here, and so it's a big trip, and any little efficiency is worth it, especially on those long hauls between charger stops in West Texas and eastern New Mexico. So that was kind of another thing in the back of the mind there. If we could increase it at all, it would be a benefit. Even getting 10, 20 miles on a charge is worth it when you're pulling in the stations at a few percent. So that was kind of the impetus. And then I was talking to Tim about it one day, and I can't remember what brought it up. Maybe we were driving in our truck doing something. And he's like, well, why don't we just build one? So Tim owns a cabinetry shop, and it's pretty easy to turn around some, MDF style things. So we whipped out a design and threw it on the back of the truck and started testing.
We'll put up a picture of this in the video, but it looks just like something two guys built in garage.
Yeah. But with the finesse of a cabinet shop line.
Well, it's not bad for a garage build. But what we found was it really worked. Like, if I remember right, the anecdotal data from trips to Texas with just the tonneau cover or with our prototype number one was that it was never worse. Efficiency was never worse. Sometimes it was shockingly better.
Shockingly good. And that could be environmental conditions. We're comparing two trips, one with the tonneau cover, one without. Similar temperatures, but different times of year. But yeah, anecdotally, it was never worse. It was always at least 4 to 5% better range.
And that's what really got our attention. It was the never worse thing. Because you can imagine a set of conditions where almost for sure it would have to have been worse, and it just never was.
It never was. You're right. There's lots of crosswind. There's all sorts of things that would have been easy to say, you know, oh, the crosswind was made it worse this time, but we never actually saw a lower number. Right? Yeah, very encouraging for anecdotal data.
Right. Yeah, so we built that prototype number one, and I don't even know where that is now.
It's under my shed.
And then we built a second one that was a little lower that would reveal the brake lights on the,
Right, yeah.
on the spoiler.
Much shorter, completely underneath the spoiler. So if you imagine there's a good, that one was a good probably 6 inches shorter.
Yeah.
Than where the top of the spoiler would come level with it. So, and that was in an attempt to see if the spoiler would still work on top of a big flat surface with the vents, but also to expose the tail lights, so we don't have to worry about wiring up your top. A lot of people don't realize you have to wire brake lights into your topper.
Which makes removing your topper for those occasions.
It's one more little project to remove it and install it, aside from just normal clamping it on and lifting it off of there. So,
yeah, and then I remember the day this thing got very serious up until that point.
Yeah, it was a hobby for a while.
and neither one of us very much liked the looks of the plywood versions. We'll show a picture of that at some point.
Sure.
And then Garrett, he's an exceptional designer. He drew up the origins of the current shape, and we both just fell in love with it. The swoopy looks, the chant. I'm just gonna pull it down for a second.
Go ahead.
Those channels that allow the air to come through the spoiler and down into these slots and also reveal the taillights. The whole thing just looks so cool. That then we had to go down the mission of figuring out how to make this shape.
Right.
So, Garrett mentioned I have a cabinet shop here and we have CNC equipment. So we actually built a mold for fiberglass. In fact, Alyssa, if you can just point the camera over there just for a second. That big gray lump over there on the floor. It's called plug. So we had to make it.
I don't understand.
We had to make the shape once, and that was what we figure 75 hours or something of CNC machining time to create that shape.
Laminations that we would then have to screw together and sand down and all that.
It was quite a month-long project.
Quite an ordeal.
Yeah. And now that turns into a fiberglass mold, and that mold creates the basic shell shape. So that was, at that point, it all became clear. Because we'd spent real money and real time, and it looked really cool. So, yeah, then we got very serious about turning this thing into a genuine business.
And product first.
Yeah, right.
Trying to figure out how to add some features to it that aren't in normal toppers because of this tapered shape for the aerodynamics, which became a driver but wasn't the primary driver. We realized that we need more storage even than this. It's kind of hard to get into something that's tapering towards you on the back of the truck. So then we developed a system to mount to the bed and a 4-bar linkage system, which some people might know about. It's a very simple system, but that allows the topper to not only hinge up but also hinge out. And that's the mechanism that allows us to get close to the spoiler in mounting, but also come away from it when we open. And then the opening thing, like you showed a second ago, is gives us a much more volume for storing things for travel. So you can ride with this thing in the up position. If you put the window up, you can get large items through here, about 3 feet tall, all the way through. And it kind of gives you back the capability of a normal topper, albeit, the sides are open, but just for protecting stuff while you're driving from anything above. Also for big loads where your tailgate's down, you can stack up, 4x8 sheets as much as a truck can carry, which I don't know if anyone's figured out the limit of, but you can put a ton of stuff under here when you need to. And then when you don't, everything collapses. You want to grab that, get on there. Do it backwards here if my shoulder will let me. So when everything's collapsed here, this is how you would ride normally. And so you would have this thing that would give you extra efficiency on the highway, not necessarily at low speeds where drag doesn't matter that much, but on the highway, you would also have this thing that would protect things in your bed. So the ability to lock it or at least to secure it while you're just going about your normal business. And all the while, that is not going to be inhibiting your range at all, whether you go on the highway or not. So that's kind of an attractive option to put something on your bed like this. That's not always a hindrance. Like if you had a permanent rooftop tent mounted on the bed rails, on the crossbars, that's always going to be inhibiting your range wherever you go. So
it's a huge hit.
Huge hit. It can be up to 10%, maybe more on the sport cases.
Yeah. So one of the things we were just talking about this yesterday that's so cool about this is it's always doing you something good, right? It's always increasing your range. It's
never hurting, and it's always
doing a little bit of something.
And then it's available for extra storage. That's when you need it. So you don't have to plan it out to carry something.